Hello everyone, and welcome to another lesson. Today we will be looking at part 2 of our database tutorial, where we will be creating 2 queries. So sit back, relax and enjoy the class. Thank you. Hello everyone, and welcome to another tutorial. This time we will be looking at part 2 of the database tutorial. If you did not watch part 1, look at the top right hand corner where you will see the tutorial for part 1, where we discussed about importing tables from Excel to database, and also we looked at how we can customize these tables and add different criterias to these tables. So now we're looking at part 2. So this is the question that we were using from part 1, as you can see. And we have already created the three tables. So now we will be doing the queries. So the question requires us to create 2 queries. One called mail query and the other grant query. All right. So for mail query, it said that there were some discrepancies found among the male students. To correct this, a list of all male students is to be generated. All right. Sorted by last name. Save the query as mail query. So that's what we're going to do next. So let's get into it right away. So first, you need to open the file that you had created before. So the access file that you created with the 3 tables from part 1 tutorial, that is the same file that you're going to reopen. All right, because the data within all these tables is what we're going to use to create our queries. So you're going to create right here. All right. Then you're going to query design right here. And then you're supposed to see something like this. All right. What we're going to do right here now is we are going to select the table in which we want to take our information from. So these are the 3 tables, as it says here, tables, 3 tables that are here. So we're going to use the students data table. All right, so you're going to select it and select add. All right, that is the only table that we need. You can close the table afterwards, after you have selected your student data table. So close. All right, I'm just going to expand this so everything can be seen. All right, wonderful. So what we're going to do next is that we are going to transfer some information from here to down here. All right. So this is how we're going to do it. So the first field, student ID, you can drag and drop the table, each column in the table. You can do that. Or what you can do, you can double click. All right. Each of the selection that you want, you can double click on it. So the first name is what's going to go next. I double click and there you go. So whichever you prefer, drag or drop or double click. All right. So let's just go ahead. So it's everything. Okay, good. So as you can see, everything here from this table is here. Right? So it tells you the table, student data, and the field, student ID, first name, middle name, last name, gender, date of birth, and telephone. All right, wonderful. So the question says that we should have a male query. So it's only going to display all the males. All right. So this is what you're going to do. You go to gender right here, where you see criteria, that row, right there where you see that row, and you're going to type open quotation, M, close quotation. Now remember, in your gender field in your Excel, if you had male written out, M-A-L-E, then you would have had you would have placed M-A-L-E instead of M, right? If you only use M and F in your gender column in your Excel that you transported to the Access, then you use M and F. If you had M-A-L-E or F-E-M-A-L-E, male or female written out, then the word male written out is what's going to go in this criteria. Please remember that. So if you don't remember, go back and check. I use M or F for the gender. So that's the reason why I'm using the letter M only for this row. All right. Wonderful. Another criteria was that it said that we should place them in ascending order. We're going to sort the males. So right here, where you see the sort and the row for sort right here, you go to the last name because we're going to sort using the last name. And there's an arrow that pops up as you highlight or activate this cell right here. You click on the arrow, right? And it shows you a list of options. They have ascending, descending, and not sorted. And we are using ascending. There you go, right? And then after you have done all of that, you go to the top left hand corner where you see run. And you click on run, right? And there you have it. I have all the students, all the male students, right? See, gender, MMM, good. If you had MALE, right, then MALE would have been shown here. Okay, wonderful. I didn't give my students any middle name, so if this space is blank on mine, it's because none of my students I gave middle names when I was creating my tables. All right. So for you, you'd have seen the middle names appear. So this is it. We have created our mail query. All right. What we're going to do next, we are going to rename our query. So at the top right hand corner, right over this side, you can close it. All right. It's going to ask you if you want to save. Yes, I want to save. And then it's going to ask you to rename the query. So the question said that it should be named mail QRY. Then you click on OK. And there you have it, our mail query. Wonderful. Now we have another query to create. All right. We have another query to create. Let us look back at the question. Now the question said for question number 2 under queries, it says that to further assist with payments, a past student is offering a grant of 15% to be paid for students who did not qualify for a scholarship but are doing 5 to 7 subjects. The query should include the following: the student's ID, name of the student, sponsorship status, total subjects, total fees charged, amount to be paid for the grant, and the balance remaining. So the sponsorship status would typically include whether or not the student is valid for a sponsorship or not valid for one. All right. The total subjects that they're doing, the amount of fees that they will have to pay depending on how much subjects they are doing, and how much to be paid for the grant. All right. Now, which means that if the grant is taken away from the total fees charged, what the difference would be. This is what this is explaining, supposed to explain. All right. The query should be sorted by the grant amount in descending order. All right. Save the query as grant query. So remember descending order. So let's just go back to our access. So now we're going to do the same thing as we did before. You go to the menu options up here, select create, then you select query design. All right. And we're back here again. So what do we do next? We are going to select multiple tables now. All right. So we are going to have the student data table first. All right. Then we're going to need a subject table. All right. And we're going to need the payment table. All right. Then you can close. Now I'm going to rearrange mine this way. You can rearrange yours to whichever way you want yours to. I'm going to expand the table so everything can be seen. All right. Just a little OCD. But I have that. I want mine to look organized that way. If you want yours to be all over the place, that's up to you. Doesn't make any difference. If you realize that where student ID is, there's a line from each table to the other running through student ID. And the reason for that is because student ID is a primary key, and that's the reason why you see a key symbol beside the one at student data. In in tutorial 1, you would see how we made student ID a primary key. You can look back at that tutorial if you do not remember or know why. All right, good. Now that we have all our 3 tables aligned, we are going to populate the tables below. So the first thing that we need is the student ID from the student's data table. Because remember, it is the primary key, so we need that information to be placed here, because this is what uniquely identifies each student. So that's why the primary key is very important. All right, so let's go. So student ID first. Information said that the question said that the student's name is needed as well. So first name, middle name, last name. All right, good. We also need a sponsorship, whether or not the student is valid for a sponsorship or not. So if you check the different tables, you realize that the sponsorship is over the student payment table. So you're going to select the sponsorship from this table by double clicking, as I said before, or you can drag or drop. So I double clicked a while ago, you see it here, or I can drag and drop it here. All right, whichever you prefer. Then we need the total subjects that the student is doing. So we're going to take that from the subject data over here where it says total subjects. All right, that's total subjects. Total fees charged. We're going to take that from the student payment table right over here. And then that's it for now for what we need from these 3 tables. All right, so remember, this query is for students who didn't receive or didn't pass 8 or more subjects, because students with 8 or more subjects would have gotten the sponsorship. However, the past students wants to give grants to students who actually passed 5 subjects. All right, so how we are going to know which students pass 5 and the ones who pass 8? That is where we're going to go to the total subjects right here, and we have the criteria. You're going to place 5, right? So this is just letting the system know that persons who pass 5 subjects. Sponsorship, no. you're going to put the word no there. And the reason why we have the word no there is because the grant is to only be given to students who never receive any sponsorship from the get-go, right? So only students who match the criteria of no in the sponsorship table will be getting the grant. All right, so let's do some calculations now. So beside total fees charged over this section, remember that the grant will cover 15%. All right, and when we're writing percentage in database or Excel, we use decimals. All right, so this is the formula that we're going to write: grant colon 0.15 times, we're going to use the star symbol at the num section, the numlock section of your keypad, right? Or you can find it above the numeral 8 on the numeric section of the keyboard. Then square bracket, right? Total fees charged. Now let me make this clear. Make sure that whatever you are typing within this formula, it is spelled the same way in your table up here. So I have total fees charged. It is not case sensitive. So that's why I said make sure it is spelled correctly. If I had total fee charged and I have total fees charged down here, then the formula will not execute because the computer won't be able to identify what I am talking about. All right. So it is very important that you spell them correctly. All right. Good. So as I said, total fees charge, right? Then you have close square bracket. Good. It doesn't matter if there's a space or not. Not space sensitive either. All right. So after you have had that, so it is grant colon 0.15 star open square bracket total fees charged. Remember to spell them correctly. What is in the square bracket, make sure it is spelled correctly. All right. Then we're going to move over to the next column beside of that one. And you're going to put in this formula: balance colon open square bracket total fees charged close square bracket minus open square bracket grant close square bracket. All right, so what that is typically saying is that for the total fees charged after the 15% is done, it's going to take away the grant from it, so you're left with the balance, what the difference is. All right, so that is what you need, and then you can just do a quick run through to make sure that all the necessary field tables that needs to be in this section is there. Make sure that you have the right criteria for the right columns, right, is there as well. Good. Now the question said something about sorting. Let us check back the question to be sure. It said the query should be sorted by the grant amount in descending order. All right, so the grant amount should be in descending order. So we can do that after the query is done. So let's go. You're going to select run. Right? When you run, as you can see, students did 5 subjects, and each one of them pay 22,500. Now, if you realize the grant does not display in the currency format, all right, we're going to change that, and this shows you the balance. All right, so how do you actually change these to currency to look like the total fees charged and the balance? All right, so what you have to do, you need to go back into your design view. So you go right here to your design view, all right, and right here you select this section, all right, grant, and then you go on property sheet. All right, when you go on property sheet, over to your right hand side, you see description, format, decimal places, input mask, and caption. You select general and select the arrow and select currency. All right, which is going to show that the form, whatever digits presents itself in that column or in that cell, should be displayed in a currency format. All right. Now there are 2 ways you can sort. The question said that we need to sort the grants in descending order. There are 2 ways you can do that. You may decide whichever way. I'm going to show you the first way. The first way, where you have sort right here, you can select the sort table and select descending. Then you go back to the top left hand corner and select run. All right. As you notice, the grant changed to, with the $sign, $3,375, and each child would pay $19,125, which is the balance. Now, the other way in which you can change the ascending to descending order, you can highlight this column and head over to this section, all right, and select ascending or descending. Now, for mine, it wouldn't make a difference because both students typically have the same a number, right? But you still need to do it so that when the question is being marked, the teacher can see that the selection of descending was chosen. All right. So there you have it. This is how we create our query. Now we're going to rename our query. All right. So you're going to close it. Yes. You want to save. Right. Sometimes it may prompt you to rename it the same time when you close it. After you have closed it, you have to actually head over to this section, right click, select rename, and name it grant QRY. And there you go. So now we have created our grant query and mail query. So this is the end of our second tutorial, where you were taught how to create a query using the tables before, and you are also taught how to customize your queries, how to put in criterias and formulas, and use the sort function. All right. Have a wonderful day, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe. We will be having tutorial part 3 coming in the next few days. Thank you.